Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Iridium Axel, and today I pose a question to you. How good is Minecraft? Of course, many people play it, myself included, but from a game design standpoint, how good is it really? Well, to figure this out, first we need to define what a good game is, keeping in mind the way the game was intended to be played by its developers. So, generally, a good game is marked by its story, mechanics, and replayability, although Minecraft has no story to speak of, being a game with an open end and beginning. What then do we replace the story with? Well, we could just leave it alone and judge the game purely off of replayability and mechanics, however, I feel that's a very shallow way to do it. Therefore, after about 30 seconds of script writing, I've decided that we will add
world building
to our list, as Minecraft has an open world. I know, creative, right? Before we begin, I should say Minecraft is starting at 50 out of 100 on a goodness scale. So for things it does right, it will earn points, and for things it does wrong, it will lose them. Let's start our confusing review of Minecraft by talking a little bit about the start, middle, and end of the game. When you start up Minecraft and create your world, it launches you into this wilderness with nothing but your bare hands and skin that looks like clothes. Weird, right? Anyway, you have nothing, and with that comes the first arguable flaw with Minecraft. Although all of these are arguable because you can't present something so opinion-based as whether a game is good or not without expecting arguments. And that flaw is the lack of tutorial or explanation. You may be thinking to yourself, but it's good for a game to have no tutorial as long as it explains itself well with gameplay. But Minecraft doesn't.
Console edition excluded.
However, in the newest version of the game, as of recording this video, 1.12.2, they've added a crafting helper on the side of your inventory that alerts you to new crafting recipes as you obtain items for them. And that one new feature essentially nullifies this argument as a flaw, which is a good thing, although I will still explain why this could be so detrimental in any other version of the game in the past 8 or so years it's been around. To start off, up until recently, Minecraft has been entirely
you figure it out and you better do it quickly or else you will die.
Now, you may argue against this and say there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of tutorials about Minecraft on YouTube. Which is true, however, you shouldn't have to rely on the internet and a game's community to learn the basic functions of a game. In my opinion, an online guide should be the last resort for an unbearably difficult puzzle, not the first thing you do when you start up a game. Because of this, I would retract 20 points of goodness, as the game is unplayable without a basic guide or a massive amount of free time. But the newest update essentially fixed this entire problem with its crafting helper. I will still retract 5 points because that's some bullcrap and it remained that way for 8 years, but that's just me being petty. Moving on to the middle of the game, at this point you've gotten the hang of things and are progressing nicely. This is a sweet spot and in my opinion most fun if you take your time. The majority of this part of the game is spent mining and building your base, which is all very fun and intuitive, even if monotonous at times. Here's an example of something positive about Minecraft because your progression is very clear and merges seamlessly from the early game. For the mid-game being handled so well, I'll add 15 points, bumping us up to 60 goodness. Yes, it is that good. And now we reach the end game. This is yet another example of the game not explaining itself well. Because without tutorials, it is truly unclear how to progress in Minecraft. And in the worst case scenario, people can stay stuck in the mid-game for long periods of time, become bored, and stop playing. Assuming you've watched tutorials for this part of the game, you are thrown into a massive amount of progression in strength of items and mobility after fighting 2 bosses and finding a new dimension called the End.
Creativity at its finest.
At this point in the game, there is still exploration and creation, although you have to actively find things to do and think of new ideas, otherwise the game is kind of dead. Even with all these seemingly negative things, I'll still happily award 5 points because of what it does right, far outweighing what it does wrong. Having an empty post-endgame is something that happens in many other cases, because after the end of the game, it's over. Shocking, right? However, Minecraft handles this impressively well, still leaving plenty for their players to do even after beating the final bosses and obtaining their items. That wraps up the end game and brings us to 65 out of 100 for our goodness. From here, we'll scoot over to our 3 criteria that make a good game, starting with mechanics, and truthfully, there isn't a lot to talk about. Minecraft is a simple game that functions as it's designed with very little glitchiness. One may argue against the way PvP works after 1.8, however, I personally think that it improved the game by making battles more about strategy and less one-sided. Although there is certainly still room for improvement with slight tweaking. The hunger system is entirely debatable and neither good nor bad, so honestly, I believe Minecraft handles its mechanics very well, although it is not so exceedingly incredible that it deserves more than 10 points. Spoiler, it's getting 10 points for this section. 75 out of 100. Woot, world building time! So to define world building, we're talking about how alive and real the world seems. Is it like a true self-standing universe? Well, I honestly don't think so. Minecraft is based around the player, and there is no real reason to do anything if the player does not deem it necessary. Villagers plant and harvest their crops passively, but the most effect that this has on the game is villager breeding and strange technical plant farms. Sheep eat grass to regrow their wool instantly, and chickens lay eggs. There it is. I just listed everything natural and alive about the game aside from its procedurally generated world. Speaking of the procedurally generated world, this is one thing done marvelously, with interesting structures generated in biomes that flow beautifully from one to another in a way that actually makes sense. Sadly, I can't give this section a sparklingly positive score because it seems as though all of these interesting structures and caves were just placed here for us. Not so much an ecosystem, but rather just things that exist. Of course, I won't say I dislike it either because it works very well for Minecraft's mechanics and early through end game. So because of this, we end off with awarding no points, but also taking away none. And finally, we reach the final topic of discussion for our lovely video, replayability. And boy, is this one a doozy. Those of you that love Minecraft will be happy to hear that the replayability of this game is massive. Before we climb aboard the hype train that's about to leave the station, you should know that I've become burnt out on Minecraft in the past. Even with the earth-shattering good opinions that I'm sharing right now, you can still get bored of it, and I've always returned. Every time I've ever gotten bored of Minecraft, I've always come back and found something new and fun to do. So, with that, we may begin. To begin, we have the most basic part of Minecraft that adds replayability. Creative mode. In creative mode, you can do whatever you want because you are invincible, can fly, and have infinite of every item in the game. If you have creative drive, then you can keep playing creative mode for countless hours. But what if I'm an uncreative turd, you may ask? Well, our next solution is multiplayer servers. These are entirely separate from Mojang except for Minecraft Realms. However, I feel that multiplayer is integrated deeply enough into Minecraft to be counted here. And man, does it count. On servers such as Hypixel and Mineplex, there are countless various mini games to play as well as plots to build in while talking to other players, introducing a social aspect that encourages you to continue playing. With this alone, you can easily double playtime for many players and come back to new mini-games and servers even when you get burnt out.
Well, Iridium, I hate people and would prefer to never interact with them, even in the smallest sense.
I understand and agree with what you're saying here. I hate people too, and for you, I recommend both vanilla mods and third-party mods. Let's start with vanilla mods as they're a direct part of the game. These are simply community-made in-game command groupings that can now even operate in the back end of the world, letting you do things you could never do in the unmodified game, like custom crafting recipes for incredibly powerful diamond swords or armor that prevents you from being knocked back. This is merely the tip of the iceberg of modding compared to the world of third-party modding, which generally uses Forge Mod Loader. In this way, Minecraft can be expanded infinitely to have any number of abilities or items that expand the endgame to take months or years rather than weeks. In addition to these final points, you can be the creator of these things. You can make your own mini-games, you can make your own mods, and you can make your own massive castle from which you rule over all 3 sextillion 600 quintillion blocks of the Minecraft world, which is not all of them. In fact, it's about a 60th of them. Anyway, for this final part, we will disregard the goodness scale, as I'm sure you can understand how the replayability of this game kind of blows it out of the water. Is Minecraft good? From my entirely biased point of view, yes. Yes, it is. Did you expect a different result? Minecraft has ballooned to one of the largest games to have ever existed in just a few years. And while it may have its share of issues, a game doesn't get there without being enjoyable. Is it for everyone? Of course not, but no game is. If you have an opinion that differs to mine, please leave a comment down below so we can discuss it together. But for now, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I guess I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.